Longhorn Nation, Sooner fans, welcome to episode 118 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, for the first time in a very long time, Oklahoma is not in the middle of the biggest sports controversy in the country. Instead, the epicenter of the sports world is in the roughly 100 miles between Austin, Texas, and College Station. And it involves your new baseball coach, Jim, what a terrible last name, Schlossnagel, who uprooted all the goodwill he had planted at the Texas A&M, getting them to a college World Series final, only to leave hours later for the University of Texas. Kevin, are you excited to get somebody that is so willing to just completely discard and destroy and burn every bridge he's ever built at the University of Texas A&M to come to the University of Texas and pick up the tattered remains of your college baseball program?
Oh, I couldn't be more excited, man. What are you talking about? Are you serious? First of all, we didn't just steal A&M's baseball coach. We stole their soul. All right. I love it. I love it. Think about this. If you're Texas A&M, you have not been in a championship setting in any of the major sports.
Of any kind.
Absolutely. Of any kind since 1939 when they won their football national championship. No sports. Yep. The first time they make it to a championship game, right, in the College World Series, they're really close. They came back in that game, right? Look, they almost won the damn thing, right? And then, so finally, if you're A&M, you're like, oh, this is great. We finally have a respectable program. There's no reason why we can't be back. The recruiting is good. We've got a great staff. And the guy leaves and goes to your arch rival just a few hours later. I love it, man. I love it.
It's an unbelievable story. I mean, Oklahoma fan, I think, empathizes with A&M to an extent. The only thing I'd say is USC is not an arch rival. It's not the most hated villain in our sports realm. They also weren't in the same conference. We also were not just in a national championship game where we lost in a heartbreaking fashion 6-5, a one-run loss to secure, like you said, the only championship in any sport, any major sport since 1939. So there's a lot of things that OU fan can sympathize with, but at the same time, my God, to lose it to Texas and the manner in which it occurred. I mean, you've got Chris Del Conte meeting the guy in a cemetery just to make sure he's not seen in College Station. I mean, whatever feelings A&M had about Texas joining the SEC, whatever feelings they had about having to play you again or whatever the case may be, have been amplified by infinity. Like, I don't even know how to put a number on it. A&M is forever scorned by you by this move. I think it is, what's the word? It's just unbelievable in its cruelty, yet beautiful in its simplicity. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's crazy.
No. I love that word that you use because if you think about it, right, he was a head coach at TCU. Chris Del Conte was the AD there. Him and Chris Del Conte are very close. He left TCU to go to A&M because it's a better job, right? As good as TCU is, great, it's a good school, but A&M has the potential to be something bigger than TCU is. If you look at this, it's the exact same thing. Texas has a history, 6 championships in baseball, countless numbers of College World Series appearances. It's bigger. It has the potential to be better. It's always been better. It's a better job. He's working for someone he likes and trusts. A&M has a new AD, Trev Alberts, who didn't hire him, right? Everything about the move makes sense from just a changing job standpoint, right?
Okay.
Better city, better job, better university, working for a friend. I do understand the anger that A&M feels though, because I would feel the exact same way if
First of
you
all,
know. Good.
I think A&M fan is mad no matter what. I think they're mad whether it was hours after the College World Series or a week after the College World Series. I think they're mad whether he handled it the right way or the manner in which he handled it. However, this is the manner in which he handled it. And he sits up there and chastises a reporter for daring to ask the question. This is a little bit paraphrased, but basically he says, I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took this job to never take another job again. Right about that. And within hours, he's gone. Kevin, what is up with these coaches? This is not a Schlossnagel. This is not a Schlossnagel thing. This is, but why? Listen, dude, I am not some sort of media genius, although in my own brain, maybe I am, but I'm not a media genius. But how hard is it, Kevin, to go, we just lost in the national championship game 6-5. All I want to talk about is this game, this season, and this team. And I don't want to talk about anything else. Like, just say it. Like, what? Why is that so hard? Why do they think they can be smarter?
They all do it. You listen, when he was at TCU, the same thing happened with rumors about him going to A&M. And he said the same kind of thing. I'm only focused on TCU. Like, I'm not leaving TCU.
But why?
I don't know. I know. It's a good point. And, it's funny because he actually apparently was brought up to him by the Texas people because he apologized to the reporter at his press conference.
I saw that
introductory press conference, which is rare. I was surprised that happened. I think it needed to though because he did not handle that part great. I'll admit that. You can say I'm not going to talk about it. I just want to focus. Back in 2003, when Kansas lost in the Final Four, the NCAA championship game to Syracuse, and there were rumors coming out that Roy Williams was going to become the head coach of North Carolina.
Right. Yep. His dream job. Yep.
His dream job. And he said, listen, I got a whole bunch of guys in the locker room that are heartbroken over this loss. So right now, I don't give up about North Carolina. That's what he said. And of course, 3 days later, he goes to North Carolina, but he made it about the team, his current team. He never denied it, but he made it about the team. So he didn't get as much backlash when he left.
How do you think A&M fan feels about, because with OU fan, the parallels are there and they're very similar, and you lose a really, really big game against, in this case for us, it was a rivalry game against Oklahoma State. And you have the sense that Lincoln Riley clearly didn't put everything he could into winning that game. Like he had one foot out the door. I've never really ascribed to the fact that he threw the game, although some OU fans, I think, mistakenly or stubbornly believe that. But I just feel like clearly his heart wasn't in winning that game. You're A&M, and your coach leaves within hours of a national championship game that you lost 6-5 and should have won. Like, not maybe should have won that game, but should have won the series. A&M was a better team than Tennessee was going in. Won game one.
You think so?
Well, I don't know. I know they won game one, right?
Good. So, number one overall seed.
Well, they're pretty good. Okay, maybe that's the wrong take. What I'm getting at is, though, they were in it. They were in it. So you're right. Maybe should have won as well, but they did win game one. So now you're really positioned in a 3-game series, man. That is that's a lot. And so if you're an A&M fan, do you ever get over the fact that there's a possibility that he didn't put everything in it? And do you think coaches like that, do you think they put everything in it? Or you really think they're able to compartmentalize life-changing decisions?
It's a natty we're talking about here. Now, the thing with Lincoln Riley, okay, it was Bedlam, and you guys could have made the playoff if you won that game.
Oh, we'd have got killed in that playoff. I don't even know who was in the playoff that year. We'd have got smoked.
Well, yeah, Caleb, but things were looking kind of weird that year.
Yeah.
Even with the offense with him. But, a chance to win the natty, I don't know, man. I thought they played well. They got off to a rough start. Tennessee, Tennessee's a really good team. But, man, they stormed back. They were making some good moves with their pitching and stuff. I don't know, man. It's hard to say, but I just can't see a coach. I think coaches can focus for one game, despite what's coming.
You think they can compartmentalize? That's fair.
I think so. They're built differently.
Yeah, they operate at a different level than us. I mean, they have to juggle a lot of things. And, the big talk around Lincoln was that it was the agent was having all those discussions and Lincoln Riley was able to focus on coaching. I still don't know that I buy that completely, but yeah, man, this is a crazy story. And I got to tell you, the Twitterverse, which is really the only social media app I'm on, has just been fantastic over the last 2 days.
It has
I mean, I absolutely love everything I'm seeing from both sides. It's just so good. The absolute despair on A&M side, the smug superiority on Texas's side. Oklahoma fan just taking shots at Oklahoma fan gets the opportunity to take shots at both fan bases right
That's
now,
always
which
good
I just
when
think
you
is
get to
which I just think is
sit back,
fantastic.
have your popcorn, and just tell
Yeah.
both sides how much they suck. Here's the
Oh.
thing, man. This is it's just the nature of the business. That's what it is, right? And sometimes guys are going to make moves that, we love our places. You love the University of Oklahoma. I love the University of Texas. For us, that's all that matters. But coaches don't see it that way. Like Lincoln Riley, clearly he thought that being in Los Angeles was a better option for him than being in Norman, right? And just like this guy thought being in Austin was better than being in College Station. It can be as simple as something like that. Whereas we're fanatics, we're obsessed with our schools. We don't understand why anybody would ever want to leave, our respective universities. But these coaches, they see it different.
How much of a raise did he get? Do you know?
I don't know. I've not heard. I'm sure yeah, probably close to $1 million, I would imagine.
Here's the thing. I talked about this on the last episode. You and I specifically, and maybe we're the only ones. So I won't speak for all of OU fans. I won't speak for all of Texas fans. But you and I specifically, we need to up our baseball game. Baseball is a critical part of the SEC. And I knew that, but I didn't really know it, if that makes sense. But
okay,
they're psychotic.
Correct.
Like they're on a different level. And the ones that care about it, I mean, it is deep in their veins. I'm not saying we're ever going to become Carl Ravitch and Joe Morgan, if you get my drift. However, I think we need to up our game, maybe at least to like the Jessica Mendoza level. You know what I'm saying?
She's pretty good. She knows what she's talking about.
Some people don't like her. Some people don't like Jessica Mendoza.
Yeah. Well, somebody like that, man. A lot of people don't like.
I like Jessica
everybody.
Mendoza.
Me too.
Fun.
Yeah.
What's the big deal?
Here's the thing.
But see, but we're not baseball guys, though. This could be the problem.
True.
This could be our first bad take, is that we like Jessica Mendoza, and real baseball guys are like going to shut this thing off. We apologize. Tell us who we're supposed to like.
Let me say this also, right? Texas obviously knew we're going to the SEC. We gotta set this thing up. David Pierce, it wasn't happening. No. He did a good job, right? He did make 3 College World Series through it, but they were never a true national championship threat. The pitching wasn't great. The recruiting was not elite, right? They knew they had to elevate, and we knew once they let him go, the timing of it, the fact they hadn't hired somebody, it was somebody that was in Omaha, and the longer it delayed, it just made. Go ahead.
But OU fan was worried it was Skip Johnson, because Skip had come from Texas. He was the pitching coach in Texas. And, Skip has had, the last time Oklahoma played said A&M under Schlossnagle was in the semifinals of the College World Series, and OU beat them. I mean, OU made it to the finals of the College World Series, only to lose to Ole Miss. They've had a couple good years since. They're a really, really good team. He's a great coach. Yeah. There was concern. But the timing of the announcement of David Pierce getting fired was like, okay, this is A&M. I mean, it was A&M from the minute they said it.
Honestly, there were talks that may have been Vitello, the coach for Tennessee, as well. Initially, as it got later and later, it kind of seemed like, okay, it's either Schlossnagle or bust at this point. But there were talks that it could have been Vitello as well.
So, all right.
We got our guy.
A&M is in shambles. OU fans never sad about that. I think we're a little concerned about the level of coach y'all got. We're hoping he falls on his face, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it looks
I don't see it happening either. I mean, the guy got A&M within a game of winning it all.
Well, God, dude, he did really well with TCU. Yeah, he's a good
multiple
coach, man.
College World Series appearances with TCU. So future's bright, man. He brought his great staff with him as well.
How many players is he bringing with him? Has that been determined yet?
We'll see, man. The portal closes, I think, on July 3rd. I know.
That's the part. That more than the coaches leaving, that's the kind of stuff that made me mad about so many things. Not necessarily Caleb Williams, but just the whole underhand. And then, and here's the deal: you're only going to hear more and more stories come out about it, and different players saying different things. And
Yeah, it's funny how we all do this, right? I'm not blaming Aggie fan for this, but the coach leaves, and all of a sudden, all the bad stuff starts
he
coming
was a
out.
jerk.
Oh, he's not a
Yeah.
good guy. We just never really liked him anyway. He wasn't good enough. He's not our guy. He's not a true Aggie. Just like Lincoln was never a true Sooner. I get it. If they happen to Texas, I'd be saying the same thing about Sark or whoever it is that would leave for another school. It's part of being a fanatic, man.
Part of being a fanatic means you have to follow recruiting. So college football recruiting. Since we've last talked in our previous episode, Oklahoma has jumped from 7 to number 5 in 247 rankings for 2024. 2025, sorry. 2025 class, adding a 4-star edge player out of Weatherford, Oklahoma, CJ Nixon, and a 3 or 4-star, 3-star on 24/7, but I've seen 4-star for Emmanuel Choice, wide receiver out of Lancaster, Texas. Any comments on either of these two guys?
I know more about Choice because I think Texas had recruited him at some point. He's kind of a taller guy, kind of like the Nick Anderson type receiver.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
We talked about this in the last episode. There are so many good receivers in Texas this year. I mean, honestly, maybe there have been years that they've been better, but I can't think of it. I mean, this state is absolutely loaded, and there are so many good ones to go around. So I'm like, oh man, we recruited Emmanuel Choice. I'm like, oh yeah, but Texas is still in it for 3 5-star receivers. So it's crazy.
Okay, this does not have anything to do with recruiting necessarily, but we're talking about wide receivers, and it just triggered my mind heading into this current season. Will Oklahoma have the best set of receivers in the SEC? At least arguably. Are we on the list?
Yeah, you're on the list. Yeah.
I think we're on the list, dude.
Deion Burks edition really elevates it. I mean, you already had Anderson, and we'll see if how Andrew Anthony comes back.
Yeah.
And you've got the other kid. What's the kid from DC?
Gibson.
No, not him. The one that was he's still around, right? It was Caleb Williams, teammate in high school.
Oh, Farouk. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't love Farouk. Yeah.
Okay.
Farouk.
He's a lot of experience, though, man.
Yeah, no. He is, and he's just an up and down player for me, And sometimes I think they used him stupid. He was the victim of the jet sweep by Levy a lot, and I don't know. They had him running tailback last year. I just never.
He's got that build, though, right? He's kind of got that 6 foot, 200-pound type frame. It's good for.
I didn't love it.
For that,
I didn't love
it. I get it. I
know
you guys had issues with Levy. You had issues with Levy. I get it.
Texas, since we last talked, has signed a 3-star offensive tackle out of San Francisco, California. I think you were 17th last time, and you remained 17th in 247. Again, I don't think y'all are worried about it. I think everything's trending the way you got. Signing an offensive tackle is never a bad thing. Any other thoughts on Texas recruiting that I just need to be aware of?
Having big official visits the last couple of weekends, it seems like they're trending for some of the top guys, but we'll wait and see how it unfolds. I still think we'll end up with a great class, especially at the receiver spot. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a good one, but let's just see how it happens.
I just this is going to lead into our next topic, but I just continue to be fascinated with who Oklahoma and Texas are now going up against. And it seems like entering the SEC has changed everything. And maybe it's just anecdotal. Maybe an expert could get on and go, well, not really. This is how it always was. It just didn't feel this way. It didn't feel like you were being considered between LSU, Georgia, Bama for it was always like maybe one of those guys was in there, but it was also Iowa State and K-State,
or a Missouri or
a Missouri. Yeah, or a TCU or you know what I mean? And those were your recruiting battles. That doesn't seem to be the case right now. It seems like when we're in a recruiting battle, not necessarily with like a 3-star tackle like Mills, that sounds like a guy you could have probably just go and get. But when you're in a battle, it's like you're in a battle with the big boys. And It seems like, at least of right now, OU and Texas are holding their own with the big boys. We're winning as much as we're losing.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of going to the SEC, right? Before, thankfully, we both have head coaches that have SEC experience, or in Venable's case, being in that region, right?
Sure.
Being in South Carolina, recruiting, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, all that. Well, now we can say, hey, look, come here. You can see you're going to play in those states. We're going to play in your home state. We'll be playing near Georgia. We're playing near Mississippi. We're playing in Florida at some point. So it
Yeah.
just helps. It opens that whole region up where we could get in, but it's just we can get in for everyone. Whereas before it would just be a
Absolutely.
few kids here and there, right? Like Danny Stutzman is from Florida, right?
Yeah.
So you've got guys there before. Texas has too, but now it's just all those top guys you have direct access to where you didn't before.
Which is
It's more of a credibility
okay.
plan in that conference.
So speaking of that, and speaking of just being in on it, going into the 2024 season, Bud Elliott with CBS put together basically a chart where he ranked the blue chip percentage players on every team. Okay, and then correlated that to their likelihood of participating in the college football playoff and eventually playing and winning a national championship. No, I don't think this is a surprise here. Ohio State's at 1 with 90% of their roster is a blue chip talent.
That is a
Uh,
slight surprise to me.
who'd you think was number 1 if I'd have just
Georgia.
asked you? Georgia's number 3 with 80%. Bama's 2 at 88%.
Okay, I would have had
So it
Georgia
goes,
first, Bama second, then Ohio State. Actually,
yeah. You want to guess 4th?
is it Texas?
No, A&M. It's
Okay,
actually
no, that,
A&M.
that that makes sense.
And you know what? They continue. And listen, we talk about this all the time. The especially the recruiting classes they had under Jimbo, specifically at the advent of NIL, the classes that they were able to sign. Obviously, they didn't do anything with them. It ended up getting Jimbo fired, albeit with a ginormous buyout. But they're the one team on this list where you're like, one of these guys doesn't belong. Like that's A&M, at least right
Yeah.
now. We'll see what Elko does. Oregon is 5th, 76% of their 76% of their roster. OU at 6th, and Texas at 7th, 73 and 72% respectively.
Okay.
Kevin, Texas is being, and listen, I think obviously rightfully so. You made it to a college football playoff. You return your coach. You return your quarterback. A lot of your offensive lines returning. But still, it's as if Oklahoma is being, in my mind, being relegated to an also ran compared to Texas. And I just don't know what it takes. Like Oklahoma's record against Texas over the last 5 years is 4-5. The lone loss being, a Dylan Gabriel-less Oklahoma. Is this just the power of the Texas brand to kind of overshadow Oklahoma heading into the SEC, or am I just kind of feeling a sense of inferiority?
I think you might be feeling that,
Probably.
right? Because like Oklahoma, Texas has a huge brand, but Oklahoma's still Oklahoma when it comes to college football, right? I think a big part of it, honestly, has to do with your schedule. It's who you're playing, and compared to who Texas is playing.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you got Michigan. You got
your schedule
Michigan.
is
You have Georgia. You have Oklahoma. Those are 3 teams that are pretty good right there.
okay, and you guys have Ole Miss, and you
Yeah.
have Texas, and you have
Yep.
LSU, and you have Alabama. A brutal schedule.
And Tennessee
Yeah,
and Missouri
Tennessee.
and
The
Texas.
schedule is
Yeah.
brutal. Yeah.
No, it is, and we'll talk a lot about that. But I don't know, man. Just like what we talked about, I look at this blue chip composition and think to myself, I don't remember. I don't think Oklahoma's percentage of blue chippers has ever been this high, except maybe the early 2000s following our national championship
Mid
win.
2000s. Also, you have a big question. You have 2 big question marks, right? And look, Jackson Arnold can end up being a Heisman
No, he's a
candidate this
question.
year, for all we know.
He's a question mark.
But we
He's a
just
question
don't
mark.
know. We don't know. We love the talent. I love the talent. You love the talent. But he just hasn't played yet in anything meaningful. And then, your offensive line. Obviously, you have the best offensive line coach in the country when it comes to developing players. But right now, you lose a lot. So it's just a massive question mark in such an important position. quarterback and offensive line together. I think that's why people are just maybe slightly hesitant to put you guys up there.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think I don't know, man. I feel sneaky good about this year, but that's okay. Uh, LSU, Notre Dame, Clemson, Florida, Miami, Penn State, USC. USC, I think was like at 55% of their roster. Michigan, and then Auburn. Those were the names, which is just crazy. It's college football is the biggest haves and have-nots of any sport in the
Yeah.
world. I think it's just a constant uh, recitation of the same characters that have always been there. So none of this is a surprise, I don't think. USC at 55%. Does that begin to open the eyes of USC fan or USC, like, I don't know, people in influential figures at USC to go, maybe we made the wrong decision? Or do you think they're already thinking that? They don't need to see
I
this
don't know.
number.
I don't know if they're thinking that yet, but it's eye opening for me, right? Somebody who thought that Lincoln Riley going to Southern California would. No, I'm not saying he was going to be Pete Carroll, but I thought from a recruiting standpoint that he was going to get there and kind of shut down California again. You know, getting those 5-star guys out of the LA area, and those guys are still going to Oregon. They're still going
Yeah.
to other places. And Pete Carroll, when he was there, he was able to get guys. Brian Cushing from New Jersey. He was able to get guys. Dwayne Jarrett was also from New Jersey. So getting guys from all over the country, from Florida, from Texas, to go to LA. We haven't seen that as much as I thought we would from Lincoln Riley and his staff. That's been the biggest shock for me.
Yeah, I think 55% is about what I would expect for him. And I think it's going to continue to fall. I don't see anything that's I mean, what they lose, did they lose 2 5-star commitments since our last podcast?
Yeah.
I
One
mean,
surefire 5-star and one borderline
one
guy.
borderline. Okay.
Both on the defensive line too.
Yeah,
But
you're going to lose
happens.
guys. Listen, dude, you're going to lose guys. I get all of that, but it's a continuous cycle you start to see there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want Tennessee, USC.
He's not signing those guys that it hasn't been what I thought it would be. You were always out on it, but I think you were kind of, you hate the guy for obvious reasons.
No,
So I think your judgment was a little clouded when it came to that initially, but it hasn't been what I thought it was going to be.
listen, dude. Yes, I have. If you look back, I don't know. We weren't doing the pod. He had already been fired, right? Yeah, he'd already been fired before we did that podcast.
But he wasn't
So,
fired.
I mean, he already left when we did the podcast.
Yeah.
You're right. He already left when we started the podcast. So I didn't get to say what I thought. But on early podcast shows, and at times it sounded a lot like Schlossnagle hate coming out of A&M. Right? He was never good enough. We're never really happy. Yes, he took us to 3 college football playoffs, but there were writing on the wall. I did say those things, and I stand by that. If you look at that season with Caleb Williams, one of the most dynamic players the sport will ever see, and we underachieved in almost every game we played, even the ones we won. It took a last-second miracle play to beat Kansas. We lost to Baylor, and I don't even think had an offensive touchdown, maybe one. Like, it was just, and Baylor wasn't Baylor back. That wasn't like the Art Briles Super Baylor teams. I mean, we were terrible that year, and it was okay to say that. And I think in Texas, an Oklahoma fan did say that. And so this is not, I hate Schlossnagle, and he just took us to a College World Series where we're 1 out away. Like, I think there's a difference. So anyway, but back to this list. I feel really good. This confirms that we're still a big boy. I don't know that we need that confirmation, but it's always nice to see it, to get that affirmation. And I think it just, I don't think we talked about Brent Venables' raise, which I think was kind of a nothing burger. Just to get a 2-year extension with like a mild raise didn't seem like a big deal to me, but a lot of people made a big deal about it. Do you have any thoughts on that?
A little bit. Do you think they needed to do it?
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Okay. I guess, listen, you guys can go 10-2 this year and everything's great, but what if we don't, right? What if it What if it goes bad for whatever reason, and it's like looking like he's not the guy? Then you kind of just tie it into a higher buyout when you could
Well,
have
I think
waited a
that
year and then unless there was no talks of him leaving, right, going to the NFL, or he wouldn't take another
no, no,
college
no.
job, right?
He's not leaving. He's not leaving. I think this is absolutely I see this as like a standard raise at your job, which just in the world of college football happens to be a crap ton of money. The rest of
Yeah.
us, when we would get raises, you'd get a 50-cent raise, at the end of the for the next year.
Yeah.
This happens to be a $400,000 raise, which sounds like a lot, but in the world of college football isn't that much. I think Oklahoma had to do. I think they thought in their mind they had to do a couple things. One, secure him. I think they're looking at indexes like this blue chip percentage. I'm not saying this chart is what made a decision, but things like where we've been ranked on a recruiting standpoint. Like we have consistently been in the top 10 in recruiting. Our talent level is going up, not going down. If he had 7-5 and 10-2, but we were ranked 30th in recruiting, kind of a la Oklahoma State, that's like warning signs are going off there, But this has an upward trajectory in the program. You see it, you feel it. Also, I think that the idea that Oklahoma wants to maintain a certain level of prestige, and you can't go into the SEC and have the 10th highest paid coach. Shouldn't be a reason you give somebody a raise, but I think it factored into it. Don't you?
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah.
I think it's got to be Kirby. Kirby has to make the most right now. And Kalen DeBoer had to get paid to leave Washington. And Sark is the head coach at Texas. And those three are locked in. Drinkowitz at Missouri does not need to make more than Brent Venables. That's just the coach at Missouri shouldn't make more than Brent Venables. The coach at Mississippi State, I don't think he was, but you get what I'm saying. Like he needs to be paid on par those guys have yet. But everything's a trajectory. You pay them just a little bit more money. You say, hey, dude, you're doing a good job. Now let's go win some games. I don't think it's that big a deal.
Okay, so you're good with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
And honestly, I haven't seen any Sooner fan that isn't,
I just
was curious if he felt like it's a little too soon. So
if they'd given
start after year 3.
If they'd have given Porter a raise, I would have been I'd be upset. Because he's the opposite trajectory. The program is in an opposite trajectory. And yes, our win total right now is at 7.5 in 2024. I think that's very achievable, and we'll go through that. But I think everything else other than our schedule is in an upward trajectory. I just really think we're in good shape. Okay, let's take a minute here. Thank our title sponsor, Brown O'Haver. Brown O'Haver is a public insurance adjusting firm that works for the insured, not the insurance company. So if you've had a loss to your home or your business from fire, wind, theft, tornado, vandalism, call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. They get their clients 30 to 40% more than they get on their own. If you're having trouble with your insurance company, if it's been a week after a loss or 6 weeks after a loss or 6 months after a loss, it's never too late to give Brown O'Haver a call and say, hey, will you just take a look at this and say, how am I doing? Am I doing okay? Or can I get more money out of this deal? Call Brown O'Haver, free claim review, 405-735-5510. EA Sports came out, everything has to do with the video game. Are you going to buy the video game, the NCAA?
Yes, my goodness. First night. Yeah.
I'm not a video game guy.
I understand. You're a few years older than me, right? Just a few years. But yeah, I grew up.
I missed the wave. Yeah, I missed the wave. My parents didn't really want us to have video games and stuff. I had an Atari 2600 and later an Atari 7800. That was my video game platform. And then I think a lot of video game playing takes place in college for guys like me in the dorms and stuff. And I got married early. And so went to work early and did a bunch of stuff that didn't involve playing video games. So I think I missed that window. The only really time I played NCAA football was actually the late summer and fall of 2001. I was working at Kohl's department stores in Moore, and a group of us would meet up afterwards and play the game. We tried to do a season, and I was Tennessee. This was following, Tennessee was kind of still pretty good at that time. I don't even remember who their quarterbacks were. I was we chose to be in the SEC because everybody wanted to be Oklahoma and the Big 12. So we didn't want anybody to get to be Oklahoma and make everybody else mad. And so, the night of September 11th, we were supposed to get together and play video games. And instead we got together and watched TV and felt bad about it. But all that to be said, EA Sports, it seems like in their build up to releasing this game, keeps coming up with new things that they're unleashing, like what the stadiums look like, what the mascots are going to look like, what the field is going to be, all the different things. So there's two things I want to talk about. The first one is pivotal to the Boomer Bevo podcast, but apparently, Kevin, they are not going to incorporate the horns down gesture. Are you properly, do you feel vindicated for always hating the horns down gesture? Do you feel like EA Sports heard you?
Well, hold on.
That your feelings have been reciprocated by a woke video game conglomerate? Do you feel good about yourself?
Okay, first of all, I don't hate the horns down at all. I just think it's funny when your fans are doing it when you're playing Iowa State and some other program that's not Texas. That's my only issue. I love the horns down during the Red River Shootout. It's part of the deal. It's got to be there. Wear the shirt, wear the hat, do it all.
Normally, I agree with you. You know that. Normally, I'm a pro horns down gesture at OU Texas sporting events only. Okay, I agree. I'm on the record. However, I was in Nashville at a soccer camp, and these 4 girls, my daughters and the 2 of their friends, wanted to take a picture in front of like the soccer stadium or whatever, and they all decided to go horns down. It was spontaneous, Kevin. It was a spontaneous feeling of unity that brought them together, and I didn't hate it. But apparently, EA Sports thinks that you, Texas fan, can't handle 13-year-old girls throwing the horns down. That's what it sounds like to me. Is that accurate to you? Do you feel like that's hurt your sensibilities and you're happy with EA Sports protecting you?
Actually, I think it would be cool if it was on the game. I thought it'd be great.
Why isn't it on the game?
I'm not sure. Here's the thing. Okay, did you notice during the I don't know if you noticed this, if you watch the baseball World Series, anytime Tennessee would get a hit, they would do the thumbs up and then turn them upside down. A&M, their hand signals like the thumbs up. They would do the thumbs up and then turn them upside down.
Yep, got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? It was like, are they going to put that in there? They're like, where is it? And is it going to be the kind of gator chop deal that people do? They kind of do the chop and kind of cross their arms. There's so many variations of inverted hand signals for teams. Are they going to put them all on there? I don't know. I would have been fine with the horns down being on the game for when teams play Texas, because teams always do it.
It would be amazing. It's a part. This is what frustrates me about this is when corporations and other entities try to ignore things that are actually happening. Like horns down happens. Just because you don't put it in a game isn't going to make it go away. It's an integral part of integral is a strong word, but it's been part of. It's been part of Oklahoma, Texas forever, to say it's not a part of the game, it's just, to me, it's just kind of weak.
Well, who knows? This is the first year of it. Maybe as it goes on, maybe they'll throw it in.
I will say this. I am going to acknowledge, though, that Texas fan, typically on the internet and obviously here with you on the Boomer Bevo podcast, you've always been pretty consistent that the horns down doesn't really bother you. Like that you don't really get a
here's the thing. Why
Matt Brown got bugged about it like in 2011. Let's be fair, I believe.
And it wasn't that. It was because we had a receiver, Mike Davis, scored against Texas Tech, Red Lubbock, and they do the guns up, and he had the guns up and kind of like threw them down, like holstered the guns, and he got a flag for taunting.
That's actually a pretty cool move. That's a pretty
Yeah,
sick
and he
move.
got a flag for taunting.
That's
He
too
got a
bad.
taunting flag for it. And so Matt Brown after the game was like, well, everybody throws their horns down and it's never a flag. He's not saying it should be, but why was us, doing an inverted Texas Tech hand signal, a taunting flag? Everybody in the world throws their horns down. So either it's a flag from everybody or it's not. And it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
That's
stupid.
literally been the only issue that anybody's ever had with the horns down because we got a 15-yard penalty for it.
So you agree with me? You agree with me that EA Sports has capitulated to the woke mob of
No.
snowflakes that can't accept horns down in their sports universe?
No,
You'll agree with me though.
No, I don't think that's not a political thing. So, but whatever makes
Kevin,
you feel better.
Listen, Kevin, I'm just saying it's all politics, dude. It's all politics.
Okay.
In addition,
feel better.
EA Sports, now this is a lot more fun, talked about the toughest home venues to play in. Okay, this is the toughest home venues. Now, I want to do a little exercise here. Do you want me to tell you what EA Sports said, or do you want to give me your 5 toughest home venues?
I looked through the list briefly. I saw it the other day.
Right,
I saw where you guys were, and I saw where Texas was. I didn't get upset because I don't know what they're basing it off of. I have literally no idea what their
I don't know what they're basing it off of either, because number one is A&M.
Correct.
And A&M has like a 24-20 record this century or whatever at home. So I don't know how that is the toughest venue to play.
Is it just do they mean loudest venues, intimidating venues? So I don't know what they're basing it off of, because
Appalachian State beat them there. Appalachian State beat them at home. That cannot be a situation where they are that good of a home environment when you're losing to App State. So, but outside of that, I don't know. I think they got it right. They had A&M, Bama, LSU, Ohio State, Georgia, Penn State, Wisconsin, OU, Florida State, Florida in the top 10. Texas was at 19. I guess I'm not surprised by that. I think Texas kind of has a lot of what Oklahoma has, in the sense that because we've been in Big 12 so long, we haven't got to host as many big games.
Correct.
So I kind of think that Texas and Oklahoma have a chance to move up on this if they can host some big games and perform.
Correct. Yeah. And I think Texas had a reputation, and OU has a similar reputation, right, for not having super deafening crowds at home games, right?
Yeah.
Since Chris Delconte has been there, I feel like Texas has improved their home atmosphere a lot. They've just done a lot of things, moving the students to better seats instead of having them, tucked away in the back end zone. Just playing better music that energizes the players and the students, which I always feel like the games have to be centered around the players and the students, because it is college football, right? Everybody else is just kind of like a spectator. But when you do things that energize them, it energizes everybody else. So I feel like Texas could be higher, because if you go to a Texas game in the 2000s, you go to a Texas game in 2023, it's a completely different experience than it was. So, but again, we're talking about a 3-year sample compared to, I don't know how long they've looked. I think with Oklahoma, similar atmospheres to Texas, but you guys just had more success. I hope you guys been better. Texas coming off a decade of being horrible, just now starting to get good again. So we've had home losses to teams that, you wouldn't be losing to. So of course, it's not going to be considered a home environment, which makes me question the whole thing about A&M being first. The thing about A&M, it's really loud. It's deafening, right? They have the crowd, they do that little chant the whole time. It's loud the whole time. They're waving the towels the entire time. So it's loud, and maybe it's kind of intimidating, but it's not hard to win there, right?
Yeah.
Texas has won there. Oklahoma has won there. App State has won there, right? So that's why I'm not getting upset about this with Texas being 19.
I just don't feel like it's an overwhelming. I don't think it's some overwhelming environment. Okay, real quick. Your top 5 toughest college football stadiums. Obviously, don't say Texas, and I won't say Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So top 5 toughest college stadiums, either that you anticipate going to play in, or you've seen on TV and thought, my God, or you've actually been there, whatever. I don't care what the criteria is. 5 toughest places to play. Number 1, toughest place.
Oh, man. I'm probably like LSU, man.
I had LSU, Kevin. I had LSU. We agree. I knew you'd say LSU. I don't know how LSU Saturday night in Tiger Stadium is not number one. It is. Look at all those Alabama teams that have gone and struggled against LSU on Saturday night. Florida against LSU on Saturday night. I'm scared to death that OU, if we're anywhere near making a playoff and LSU's anywhere near making a playoff, Thanksgiving weekend, it's going to be on a Saturday night, and it's going to be fantastic.
Of course. Texas.
And those Cajuns are crazy, Kevin. They're crazy.
Correct.
Those people are insane.
They are, and they're gonna be hopped up on whiskey and moonshine all day. Come on, man. Can you imagine their tailgate? Texas was supposed to play there in 2020. The game got canceled due to the COVID pandemic. And, a lot of Texas fans, including myself, was like, oh, well, they lost all these guys off that team. Joe Burrow, 3 really good receivers, offensive linemen. We have a chance to win there. But I'm like, man, can we honestly go down there and beat that team? Even without Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Terrace Marshall, but just that stadium. It seems incredibly intimidating. And the stadium is really steep, right? It seems like the fans are right on top of you. 95 to 100,000 people. Yeah, man. Tough spot.
It's
thankfully you guys get them at the end of the year.
Yeah, well, I think the key to LSU is going to be their defense. If their defense is improved, they're going to have a chance to win a lot of games. If their defense continues to suck, maybe OU's got a chance. All right, number two.
You know what? I don't know how loud this place is, but I mean, you're just not gonna go and win that, man. It's Bama.
Okay, you know what? I didn't list Bama, but I agree.
But this is more because of the level of football that they play. That's why it was such a big deal when Texas won there last year.
I heard this statement made, and I think I don't know who said it, so I don't want to take credit for it, but I feel like it seems like a very sanitized stadium, though, especially for the SEC. It feels almost NFL light, if you will. Like,
okay,
there's an excitement level there and stuff, but we're also here to get some business done. Maybe that's just like a Nick Saban vibe that was created.
And I think too. Man,
but you're right. Though it's incredibly hard place to win. You
want to talk about a spoiled fan base? I mean, they've had so much success. Saban has called them out for it. They just you walk into the stadium just expecting to win every single game, no matter who you're playing, and eventually, and it's human nature, right? If you win every time you step on the field, you go in there like, oh, okay, it's Texas, like,
all right,
what's to be worried about?
I had Oregon at number 2.
They have a great home field.
I think they have a great home field. They pay their referees very, very well in Oregon. Everybody knows about the debacle in 2005 or 6 from Oklahoma getting just completely jobbed. But even with that, man, it seems like when you watch a Pac-12 game, now about to be a Big Ten game, but when you watch a Pac-12 game, that was the one stadium, Washington to an extent, but that was the one stadium where it felt like they cared. Every other Pac-12 stadium did not care.
They were
just, and it was just like, the weather's pretty good, so we'll go watch a football. No, man, these people are nuts. And you got ducks doing push-ups and all sorts of stuff, and then obviously it's just the uniforms and the whole thing. I think it's a tough place to play. I think it's a rowdy place to play. I always liked Oregon. Okay, number 3.
Ohio State.
Okay, I had Ohio State at 4, but we can talk about Ohio State in the same breath. I've been to Ohio State, and I think it's a very, very, very tough place to play. A, they're really, really good. B, their fans are really, really knowledgeable. It's a great environment, a great vibe, and they've had a really good team. So, yeah, I think Ohio State is up there. The shoe, it's iconic. They dot the I. Their band is fantastic.
It's cool to see that.
Oh, it's great, dude. Ohio State. Texas won at Ohio State or lost?
They did. No, they won up there.
But you lost in Austin.
Yeah, same with you guys.
Okay. Yep. Isn't that weird? Isn't that interesting? That both Oklahoma and Texas won at Ohio State and lost at Norman and Austin.
Yeah. And lost, like, the games weren't close either at home.
No.
Yeah, it was Colt McCoy's second start.
The Oklahoma game was a weird game. It was like a rain delay, and they just kind of got off to a bad start. And then it really shouldn't have even been that close because Joe Mixon actually dropped the ball before the end zone on like a kickoff return or something. So it was a weird game.
Yeah,
All right. I had at number 3, and then I had Ohio State at 4, but number 3 was Florida State for me. Dude, when I see him do the tomahawk chop, and maybe that's just us growing up in the late 90s, but dude, I loved watching games Doak Walker. I just thought I think it's so cool. It's on my bucket list of wanting to go watch a game. When OU played him in 2011 or 12, oh my God, dude, it looks so good. And also the camera angle, I've talked about it on this podcast, but the camera angle makes their guys look so big and so fast, and it makes the environment look so good. I don't know. I just like Florida State there.
Well, I told you this before. No one in my family liked college football when I was a kid. So I completely discovered college football on my own. And how I discovered it was flipping through the channels, and Florida State was on, and I heard the war chant, and I was hooked. It was literally the war chant that got me hooked. I was hooked, man. Charlie Ward was their quarterback at the time too. So yeah, it was amazing.
So good.
So, yeah.
So you like that pick? You like Florida State?
I do like that pick. I didn't have them. I never even thought about Florida State. My next one was actually the Florida Gators.
The Swamp. Nice.
Yeah, that place. And again, I know Florida hasn't been great in a few years, but when they're rocking, I mean, you go back to the Steve Spurrier days, the Urban Meyer days, and again, the stadium build, correct, that the seats almost go straight up. It's like the fans are right on top of the action. It's so loud when they're good, when they have those big moments there, games against like Florida State, LSU coming to town.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a great atmosphere there. We'll see if they get back. I don't know what to expect from them on the field this year with their coach, Billy Napier, but that is a very loud place.
I've never been able to be a Florida fan though. Did you ever like Florida?
Not really. I've liked their players. I love Javon Curtis back in the day.
Aaron Hernandez, big Aaron Hernandez fan.
Hey, he's a stud, man.
Inappropriate, Kevin. Come on. Oh, come on.
He was a great player.
Who you got at number 5? Toughest stadium to play.
I don't know, man. There's a couple I've been considering. Washington.
Yeah, Washington, 12th man.
Washington, yeah. They have a great atmosphere. There's really no one in the Big 12 that I would put there. Well, Nebraska is nice when I know they're not in the Big 12. But yeah, it's just a nice place. It's a great great views in the stadium and great fans, but it's not tough, right? Texas has literally never lost there, which is crazy to say, but it's true. Let me think. Oh, Penn State.
Whiteout. Okay, that's a good one. I don't know how many times they actually win with whiteouts. I feel like the only time I ever tune in to watch a Penn State game is when they're having a whiteout and they end up losing that game. But it always does look really tough to play. Ohio State's lost there a couple times late in the season. So it's been fun to watch.
One time when under Harbaugh, when they got the relay game on the first play.
Yeah, it looks like a really tough play. I'm ready. You ready for my curveball? This is my curveball, and I don't think I'm off base. I think I'm being a little tongue in cheek with this, but I actually think it's a really tough place to play. Just because it's kind of a cesspool, right? And nobody would really ever want to go there. Like the only reason you're going there is to play a football game, and even then, you wish you weren't going there to play a football game. It is in the Big 12. Can you guess who I'm talking about?
Oklahoma State?
Texas Tech. What an awful place to play.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's the toughest place to play because it's such a crap hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fans could be the worst fans in all of college football. The tortillas, their coach is an idiot. They got guns up, whatever. Texas Tech's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke. Their stadium's a joke. It's the toughest place to play. I've been to games there where we've gotten completely hosed. The wind blows 40 miles an hour all the time. It smells like cow poop. And it's just terrible. It's a horrible, tough place to play.
We both have some horrible experiences there, both as fans, but just our respective programs that we cheer for. Just, 2008 is and will continue to be the worst moment for me as a Texas fan, losing that game to the Michael Crabtree play.
It was a great play.
Because it was an amazing play.
It was an amazing play.
Yeah.
What an iconic football.
It was a great play, but Just what that play did too,
We knocked you out
right?
of the national championship.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I've said this since then. I'll continue to say this. That's the best Texas team since, besides the '05 team, the '08 team. I felt like that team was on the way
better
to
than
winning the
'09.
Natty that
Better
year.
than '09.
Oh yeah, yes,
Really?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the '09 defense was a little bit better, but the offense was not there. It wasn't there. We had Colt McCoy and Jordan Shipley, and
Yeah.
that's it. The running game
Yeah.
wasn't good. None of
Yeah.
the other receivers were really good.
Well, you think about that Oklahoma game in '09. You only won like 16-13. Like it
Correct.
was.
That's without Bradford and Jermaine
Yeah.
Gresham.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. It was. Y'all
Yeah.
weren't. You're right. You weren't a great team. Although I still
No.
think with McCoy, I think you beat that Alabama team. We've talked about that.
Yeah. We would beat Alabama, but the '08 team was a significantly better team.
Okay, so we agree it's LSU and we agree Texas Tech is a dump and we're glad to never have to play there again.
Yes.
Can agree on that? Okay.
We can absolutely agree on that.
All right. Last but not least, and we got about 5 minutes here, Kevin. Can you give us a breakdown of the NBA draft? Talk a little Spurs and Thunder real quick.
Yeah, I mean this draft, right? No one's looking at it as being, the 1984 draft. Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Barkley, John Stockton, or the
Patrick Ewing in that draft, or was he the year before?
No, he was. I think he was a year after, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. The '84 draft,
Yeah.
unbelievable. Same in football. Same in football that year.
I was 83, right, with quarterbacks.
Oh, maybe 83. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm stepping all over your segment. Go ahead.
Okay. No, it's fine. It's fine. Or the 2003 draft. LeBron, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, all those guys, Carmelo Anthony, nothing like that, right? But there's always going to be players that surprise. For the Spurs, getting Stephon Castle from UConn, I think this guy's great. I think he's an elite defensive player immediately. I think he's going to come into the NBA and be a top-level on-ball defensive player. I think he can guard multiple positions, at least 1 through 3.
What's his current player comparison?
You know what? Jay Billis almost compared him to a young Drew Holiday. He believes he's that good.
That's what it sounded like you were. That's what it sounded like you were describing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
does he start game 1 for the Spurs? Is he good enough to start game 1 for the Spurs?
I believe so. Yeah, just because
they didn't have anybody else to start, so I don't know.
No, correct. I think his defensive intensity is so high that Pop will have no choice but to put him on the court and start him. And this guy chases everything. He fights through screens, which I know you love.
I love it, dude. Let's go.
He fights through screens nonstop. He just cares. And he was a 5-star guy, right? And he almost plays like a 3-star guy who has a chip on his shoulder. I think that was a crazy thing because sometimes you see these 5-star guys and they come in knowing that, I'm going to be here 1 year and I'm going to be a lottery pick. So it doesn't matter. I can kind of coast in these games. No, man. And, Dan Hurley at UConn, I know you're a big fan of him, his style. He's an old school guy.
I am a fan of Hurley. Absolutely, 100%. I'm glad he didn't take the Lakers job. I'm glad he stayed in college. I think it's the right move.
I think he actually would have been good for the Lakers, right?
We haven't even talked to
tone his tactics down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You can't yell at NBA guys like you can at college guys, but still, I think some of his defensive stuff and his offense stuff too would have worked in the league. But he gets this guy, the 5-star guy, goes to UConn, and he fits right in with that tough mindset that you have to play for Coach Hurley. You mentioned he's chasing everything. They're up by, 20 points in games, and he's still defending like it's the last minute of Game 7 of the NBA Finals, right? So he brings that kind of intensity. I think he can do some things finishing at the rim as well. The shot needs to develop, but I think we could look back and say he might have been the best player in the draft. The guy who went 1, Zachary Rissachet from France. Swingman, 6'7". I don't know, man. These guys, they bring him in. They're talented. They're not super productive on their current teams in Europe. So they're just drafting these guys off of potential. He's a decent playmaker. We'll see what he can become. I hope he does well. I just don't know. Number 2, Alex Sarr. He's a brother of Olivier Sarr, who plays for the Oklahoma City Thunder. 7'1", rim protector. He can be a good player just on that. The offense, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
The Thunder, by the way, ended up drafting Nikola Topic from Serbia. He's a 6'6" guard forward type. They like
The
him. He can
crit
handle the ball. Go ahead.
the criticism for him, again, I don't know Nikola Topic, but the criticism is he's coming off a torn ACL.
Yes.
And why are you doing your first pick, number 12 pick in the draft on a dude that's coming off a torn ACL? Like, did you really have to pick him there with number 12? And then number two, didn't we just trade Josh Giddey? Like, it seems like we're getting Josh Giddey back. Is the prevailing thought. Do you agree with that, or is that a little off base?
I think he's a little different. I think he's a better slasher
Okay.
than Giddey is. I think they see a little bit more potential with his shot than with Giddey. This is a guy people were expecting to go in the top 5, right?
Oh, really? Okay. So
Yeah,
do you think Sam Presti found value at 12? Because
I
that
think
doesn't seem
he
to.
did. He's not going to play
That's
this
counter.
year, though. That's the only
Okay.
thing, though. Is he's not going to play this year. I don't think the Thunder are done making moves. I could be wrong, but I don't think their team, as currently constructed, is a team that they're going to run out with in October. I still think there's moves that are left to be made.
What do you think about Dylan? What do you think about Dylan Jones at 26?
Man, I will be
6
honest
foot
with you.
6'4".
I don't know much about him. I know they like the way he plays. He's like what, 6'5"? I think that's what he was listed at. Okay.
6'6" out of Weber State in Utah. Big Sky Conference Player of the Year. Owns almost every record at the school. You just don't know, though.
Yeah.
It's one of
such
those
a crapshoot
things.
with these guys. It's such a crapshoot, man. Question I have for you, man.
Yeah.
Is, do you think Bronny James gets drafted tonight?
No. Well, yeah. I think he gets drafted by the Lakers, like I've been saying, and I just I've been pretty adamant about this. He's not an NBA level player. They don't have to waste a draft pick on him to get him. They could sign him. I mean, why draft a guy that you can sign afterwards? It just doesn't make sense. Like, you can sign him.
Yeah.
Go find some. Go find somebody else.
Round guys don't make it anyway. They just don't.
Yeah. I guess though, there's his agent, which I'm guessing is also LeBron's agent.
Yeah, Rich Paul.
Yeah, Rich Paul is saying that he doesn't want to be a two-way player in the sense that he doesn't want to float between the G League and I'm baffled by this.
Me too. And
the fact that he's a 6'4" player that couldn't start at USC. He's a 6'4". USC wasn't very good.
He's not 6'4".
Right. That's what I've heard. I mean,
yeah.
Is that right?
No, seriously. No. I believe at the combine he measured at under 6'2".
I mean, that's how tall I am, dude. And I know how tall I am when I go up against a basketball player. Like, come on.
Yeah. Look, as you know how I love LeBron.
So are you starting to come to my side of thinking, though? Are you starting to come to my side of thinking after kind of like meaning that he's not an NBA prospect? He's not an NBA prospect.
No, you're not convincing me of that. I've already known that. But my thing is, even though LeBron James is his father, there are not enough jobs. He's not going to be handed a job in the NBA, even for the Lakers. I'm telling you, man, this has become one of the most exclusive jobs in the world. It already was before, right? Now we've got the international players coming in, Reed Shepherd was the first American drafted at number 3 out of Kentucky.
I agree with you, Kevin, 100%. And I don't think, listen, nothing saying any kid, whatever his name is, but even with somebody that has the resources of LeBron James, the LeBron James kid, Bronny, can't go dedicate himself and become an NBA player. That can happen.
Yeah.
And but what you'd like to think is that it happens in a natural progression via the G League, via staying another couple years in college, getting that 3-point shooting percentage up, doing a lot of different things. So where is somebody going to LeBron going, hey, dude, like, your boy's not where he needs to be? Does anybody have that cachet with LeBron to be able to tell him that? Because it doesn't seem like that's happening.
I would hope so. I mean, yeah, he's not a guy who's going to come in and play in the NBA at all this year. It's just not going to happen. again, he's 6'1.5".
Okay, I
Right?
agree with you, dude.
So
But I'm telling you, he's going to get drafted by the Lakers.
he is going to get drafted. He's probably going to get drafted. And again, I'm not upset about him getting drafted. It's what happens after that I haven't. Because I mean, again, you get to the end of the second round. If you
You
look
don't think he's
through
going to take it? So
historically,
you really don't think he's going to take a roster spot? You think they'll ship him down to their G League affiliate?
yes, come on.
I
Yes.
agree. You're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
We're saying the same things. I'm telling
Yeah.
you, I've been on this. I just don't. I
And
think
I
it's
heard
like-
Rich Paul saying that. I heard what he said about him not wanting to do a two-way contract. And either way, you're going to be in the G League. Whether if it's a two-way contract, I mean, he's got to be in the G League. He needs to develop.
He's got to be in the G League, dude.
Yeah,
He's
he's
got to
not
be in the
there
G
yet.
League.
You know,
I
would have liked to see him play longer at USC or transfer somewhere else. They've got a better coach. Eric Musselman is a coach at USC now, who did a great job at Arkansas. Yeah, he's a former NBA coach. But he hit the portal. I thought he should have went to Duquesne. One of LeBron's high school teammates is now the head coach there. I thought he'd have been cool if he'd have transferred there and been able to just play and develop. Not a huge spotlight there. Then maybe 2 or 3 years from now, it's like, okay, now this guy is an NBA ready point guard.
You know, OU fan makes fun of Arch Manning. There's the constant Arch jokes, and Eli, and Peyton and Eli are running the whole deal, and all of those things, right? The nepotism that comes with being Arch Manning at Texas. However, as it's played out, you can tell the Mannings have a plan for his career, right? He's going to redshirt. He's going to sit behind Quinn. He will step into the spotlight when he's darn good and ready.
Correct.
You're not sensing that from LeBron, right? You're sensing he has to have it now. He has to be in the NBA now. He needs to play with me because I might not be in the league this long, and everything that goes along with LeBron. And to watch the two superstars, and I know that's not their son, but still, they're a very close family. To watch how these superstars are managing their relations as they kind of mature through this process, it's pretty telling. It's pretty telling how they're handling this.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think it's a bad look for LeBron. He's Teflon in the sense that people are going to give him a break. And if he takes the last spot on the Lakers bench, does it really matter? I guess not, but it's just really, really, really weird.
Yeah.
It's going to be, and this is what JJ Redick, we talked about Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley didn't want any part of this, man. I'm just telling you, he didn't. He gets to be the king of the castle at UConn. You are not the king of the castle at LA. Do I think JJ Redick?
He never will be.
Pat Riley was not king of the castle. That's why he went to the Heat. Because he was not the king of the castle in LA.
Yeah, then the Heat. Yeah.
Oh, in the Knicks and then the Heat. He wanted to be the man and proved himself to be the man. So, last NBA point, and then we got to get out of here. There's chatter about about the Suns breaking up and getting rid of Devin Booker and shipping KD back to Oklahoma City. Come on, you agree with me that that's stupid, right?
Which part of it?
My God.
Hold on, which part of
Kevin Durant coming back to Oklahoma City. That is stupid. I think that's a stupid statement and a stupid concept. You're telling me that you would want to see Kevin. He has been, dude, listen. Why do I have to? I feel like I'm like, oh my God. Okay. Dude, we've got an hour and 8 minutes. I shouldn't have to get all upset about this. He left Oklahoma City to go to a team that had already won an NBA title. He proceeds to win 2 NBA titles with them and then leaves, and then they win another title. He was not the missing link to Golden State. He was a very nice addition to a Golden State team that turned into a dynasty. But he's not the only reason they won, and he's not the driving force behind them winning. He then goes to Steph Curry. And he then goes to Brooklyn, where they do nothing. Kevin, nothing at Brooklyn. In a very weak East. In a very weak East. The East was not good back then. They were terrible. Okay? He does nothing. So then he says, okay, I'm going to go to the Suns, which last summer you're like, oh man, I think it's pretty good. And I was like, it's not going to work. It will not work because it just doesn't work that way. He's not a leader. He doesn't take control of the team. They're not very good. They're not going to be good. And this is with Devin Booker, and this is some of the other players they had on that team. And we're like, oh my God, they have to be good. And I'm like, no, they're not going to be good. It's the same thing with the Thunder. It's the same thing with the Thunder. You have a young team led by a dynamic superstar. Finished third in the MVP voting. You do not need to bring in this guy and the freaking BS that he carries with him. Dude, go
second.
find. Huh?
He finished second in the MVP voting.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to upturn the apple cart, dude. You've got to go get complimentary players for Shea. You got to go get those dogs that you were talking about. The guy that the Spurs just drafted. I mean, I know that he wasn't available, but these guys are going to play hard and like 5 stars to think they're 3 stars. Those kind of guys. Kevin Durant is at the sunset of his career. Come on.
Let me just push back on one thing. All right, they don't need Kevin Durant. They don't.
Thank you.
But to say that Kevin Durant is not a dog, that is not accurate. I don't.
Oh, really? Was he a dog when he played for Brooklyn? Was he a dog when he played for Brooklyn?
Hold on. What makes him interesting is he's not like he is so interesting as a superstar because he likes to do his own thing. He's not like the team leader guy. That's what he isn't. That's what, but I mean, but you can never question his desire on the court. You can't. The guy still puts up 27, 7, and 6 at 35 years old and 42% from 3.
But you just said it right there. At 35 years old, you want to mortgage the future of an up and coming franchise that has the potential to be really good for a while with what Presti's done in the draft and what Presti's done in the trade block and all of the things. We want to mortgage all that for a 35-year-old aging superstar that hasn't won a title since he played with Steph Curry and Draymond Green?
Well, again, let's not act like he wasn't a massive part of those titles, right? Let's just not act like.
But he still hasn't won. But he didn't win without him. Steph Curry won without him.
Yeah, it was a
disaster.
Curry won
without him twice.
It was a disaster in Brooklyn.
It was a disaster. It was unbelievable.
And the Phoenix thing hasn't worked out. And I'm not saying you should do that, but I think if you're Sam Presti, you at least have to entertain the thought of it for a second. And even if you talk about it for 5 minutes and then you move on. But just to make it just a straight up
and moved on. Let's just say I hope he's talked about it for 5 minutes.
You at least have to consider it because, again, you're thinking about it from a scorned.
We had come to an agreement on things. Okay. We had come to an agreement that EA Sports was submitting to woke culture. We'd come to an agreement that LSU was the toughest place and that Texas Tech was a cesspool. We'd come to an agreement that Schlossnagle completely screwed up his exit interview going to Texas. All these things we agreed on, Kevin. And then you want to throw out here and say the Thunder need Kevin Durant to win a title. And I just don't agree with you. Disagree.
Hey, listen, man. Look, you know how you defend Baker Mayfield to the end?
That's correct. You're comparing Baker Mayfield to Kevin Durant?
No, he's not in the same universe as Kevin Durant. What are you talking about? No, we're talking about
Baker played at Oklahoma for 4 years. KD played at Texas for 1 year and didn't even make the Elite Eight.
Hey, he's the best player to ever step on the court in Austin.
I don't know.
Yes.
That guy can get me riled up, dude. Kevin Durant talking to get me riled up.
I know.
Like the blood pressure gets. I'm gonna have to go take a blood pressure pill now. We've gone 13 minutes late because you wanted to bring it up. I didn't even want to bring it up. You said we had to bring it up.
He's still the best player to ever step foot, to ever play for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I know you guys love Russ. I know you love Russ.
He's really good. He's the best player to ever play for the Thunder.
Okay, I'm glad
he's the best player. But let's just let that hang back there in the early teens where it was. It doesn't have to. We don't need to recapture those days. They're not coming back.
And I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you should do it. But I mean, something. If it's the options there, you at least have to think about it for a second.
Do not mortgage.
It's too good. No. I wouldn't mortgage my future for a 35-year-old
aging superstar. We've seen that in the NBA. It doesn't work. Yeah. It doesn't work.
No. But here's the thing about it. If you can get him, no one has more assets than the Thunder do. Right?
Yeah, but it's the salary cap hit, though. In addition, though, it's the salary cap hit, man. It's a lot of money you got to pay him.
And he's not, he doesn't, I don't know. His personality is not one that takes over the locker room.
No.
Which can be negative in some ways. You bring a guy in, it's like, that's why you have to let some guys go because it's like as long as this guy's on the team, the locker room is going to go a certain way.
Yeah.
It's not like that with him. So.
Kevin, we went long. We always go long. I don't even know why I say we go long because this is the normal time we go, but that doesn't matter. I love it. This was a great show, dude. So much with A&M and Schlossnagel. And then, listen, we're going to take a week off for July 4th. Then we're going to be back and we're going to be like 45 days out by the time our next show comes on. So we are going to get really, really, really close to the start of college football. So we're going to start having our preview episodes, start breaking down schedules, looking at win totals, all of those things. It's coming, Kevin. It's coming. Yes, we're in the dog days right now, but it is coming. Have a great afternoon and a great 4th of July. Boomer.
Okay.